Welcome to the informational webinar for the Local Road Improvement Program, or LRIP, 2024-25 Program Cycle Informational Meeting. My name is John Moe, and I'm the statewide local program manager for LRIP. This webinar will present you with the information on the 24-25 LRIP program cycle, including timelines, application procedures, and other important topics relating to LRIP. Section Chief Meryl Meckler-Hickson will then provide an update on the new Agricultural Road Improvement Program, or ARIP, that was just created with the passage of the state budget. This presentation is expected to last around an hour. A question and answer period will take place following the PowerPoint presentation. Throughout the presentation, you can submit questions by sending us an email at the following address: dotlocalprograms@dot.wi.gov, which is shown below on the screen. Questions sent to the address during the presentation may be discussed during the question and answer session at the end of the webinar. For questions we're unable to get to today, LRIP staff will review and provide you with an email response soon following the webinar. Soon after the presentation, LRIP web users will also be sent an email containing the link to this webinar for those who want to review it again or those that missed today's presentation. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Wisconsin DOT local programs, we're the central office staff who administer and schedule the formula programs that assist local government with needed improvements to local roads, highways, bridges, as well as bicycle and pedestrian facilities. Local programs is housed in the WisDOT Bureau of Transit, Local Roads, Railroads, and Harbors. Jen Murray, whose contact information is in the upper left, is our Bureau Director. Meryl Meckler-Hickson, who is also here today with me, is the Local Program Section Chief, and his contact information is in the upper right. Tim Alushigan, who some of you may have spoken to in the past, is a Local Program Supervisor. All of us are available to assist you in any local program questions you may have. Our contact information is displayed here on the screen. I know it may be a little hard to read on the computer screen. Don't worry about rushing to write anything down. A PDF of the deck, this PowerPoint presentation, will be made available shortly after the presentation today. In the interest of time, I won't go through the entire list, but please feel free to reach out to any of the individuals here on the list if you have specific questions regarding any of the local programs we manage. Or again, please feel free to reach out to me directly. Governed by Chapter 86.31 of the Wisconsin State Statutes, the Local Roads Improvement Program, or LRIP, has been in place since 1991 to address seriously deteriorating roads under local jurisdiction, such as county trunk highways, city and village streets, and town roads. LRIP is an improvement program for local governments to upgrade their pavement infrastructure. It is not for maintenance work, and it is not for new construction. Projects must be designed for a 10-year life cycle and be built to the appropriate construction standards. Those standards are Trans 204 for town roads, the Facilities Development Manual, Chapter 11-20-1 for municipal streets, and Trans 205 for county trunk highways. LRIP is a reimbursement program that allows for up to 50% reimbursement for eligible project costs, with the exception of LRIP supplemental, which I will summarize shortly. Please remember, projects must be completed and contractors must be paid before reimbursement. LRIP is managed by the LRIP web application, a web-based program management system, which was first developed for the 2018-19 LRIP program, and then enhanced in 2020. It is the core hub for LRIP project management, as it offers an easy way to apply for, make changes, and request reimbursements for LRIP projects. I would note that a one-time registration for LRIP Web is required through the Transportation Assistance System, or TAS. That system was developed as the core hub for each local government's WSDOT programming. For the 2024-25 LRIP program cycle, WSDOT will be managing funding levels as provided by the recently passed 2023-25 state budget. The LRIP entitlement two-year funding level is over $37 million, with the LRIP discretionary funding level being just over $36 million. Of that, $4 million is for the County Highway O project in Richland County. The LRIP supplemental, or LRIP S program, was again provided $100 million in the state budget. Again, the LRIP S program was provided $100 million in the state budget for additional investment in local roads. These funds will be placed in the Town Road Improvement Supplemental, or TRIS component, the Municipal Street Improvement Supplemental, or MISS component, and the County Highway Improvement Supplemental, CHIS component. The timeline for LRIP S will be the same as the LRIP D, or discretionary project timeline. Only one application is necessary to apply for both discretionary and supplemental components, unless the applicant specifies they do not want dual consideration. Please note, a qualified project will only be able to receive either an LRIP discretionary or an LRIP supplemental award, not both. As I mentioned, the timing for processing discretionary and supplemental will work in concert with each other, with applications due to WSDOT no later than January 15th of 2024. The statewide review committee for town roads and municipal streets will score the projects and then meet during the month of March to recommend awards for both the LRIP discretionary and LRIP supplemental programs. The county highway district committees will review and determine LRIP S funding levels for county-generated projects, like they do for the discretionary component. The key difference between LRIP D and LRIP S is that the LRIP D retains its 50-50 cost share, while LRIP S will have a 90-10 cost share. One thing to note is that these state-local match ratios are maximums and are subject to the recommendations of the statewide review committees. Awards may be granted up to 50% of eligible costs for the discretionary program and up to 90% for eligible costs in the supplemental program. Here's a general LRIP program timeline. Please note, for those of you that are in the pilot program, some of the dates will be different. We will be discussing the pilot program shortly. The timeline starts off on July 1st, which was the official beginning of the LRIP program cycle. November 1st is when applications are due to county highway commissioners who within LRIP Web are able to review local projects submittals for compliance prior to submitting them to DOT. Your county level town road improvement committees and your municipal street improvement committees should meet between now and November to determine LRIP entitlement funding, awards for the TRI and MSILT components. MSIGT funding allocations are provided directly to those communities. As previously mentioned, January 15th of 2024 is the hard statutory deadline for project applications to be submitted to WSDOT through LRIP Web. WSDOT will be sending you periodic email reminders as the deadline approaches. Other dates to keep in mind from the timeline are March 15th, which is the date for which DOT will execute all 2024 LRIP project year SMAs, and July 15th, which is the target date for WSDOT to provide project sponsors with 2025 project year SMAs. The pilot program came about with the collaboration of the Wisconsin County Highway Association, League of Wisconsin Municipalities, and the Wisconsin Towns Association to modernize Trans 206. Trans 206 code that drives the LRIP program was written in the early 1990s. The goal of the pilot program is to help determine the best changes to be made when the code is rewritten. DOT is always looking for ways to improve the process for LRIP applicants, so we're examining this alternative method of program administration in the hopes of achieving a more consistent experience for LRIP applicants statewide. The pilot project includes 25 counties in northwest and west central Wisconsin. These are the Wisconsin Towns Association districts 2 and 3. The direct impact to towns and smaller cities and villages in the pilot is that they will be working with a facilitator rather than their county highway commissioner. The facilitators will provide the services that CHCs are currently required to provide. For more specifics on the pilot program, please visit the League of Wisconsin Municipalities and the Wisconsin Towns Association's websites. Here are the 3 facilitators and their contact information. Emmer Shields, former Ashland County Highway Commissioner. He helped develop the LRIP program in the 1990s. Emmer is covering Ashland, Bayfield, Douglas, Iron, and Price counties. Gary Kennedy, former Manitowoc County Highway Commissioner. He is covering Clark, Jackson, La Crosse, Monroe, Trumpelow, and Wood. Mark Serby, former Barron County Highway Commissioner, who just retired in August. He's covering Barron, Buffalo, Burnett, Chippewa, Dunn, Eau Claire, Pippin, Pierce, Polk, Rusk, St. Croix, Sawyer, Taylor, and Washburn. Again, if you are in any of these counties, please know the process for applying for LRIP has changed, as you will need to work with the appropriate facilitator indicated on this slide. If you are not in one of these counties, please continue to work with your county highway commissioner. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. This slide provides you with the sunset dates for LRIP projects. LRIP policy provides project sponsors time to complete their projects, specifically the span of 3 total program cycles. Projects in the 2021 program cycle, the sunset date is June 30th of 2025. And for projects in the 22-23 program cycle, the sunset date is June 30th of 27. And the upcoming 24-25 program cycle will have a sunset date of June 30th of 2029. Applicants that do not complete and submit their reimbursement requests by their respective sunset dates are subject to losing their LRIP funding. The intent of the sunset policy is to ensure that LRIP projects are completed in a timely manner. For those who are new to LRIP Web or need a refresher, there is a wealth of resources on the LRIP Web page with educational items to help you through the LRIP application. There are 2 recorded webinars on the 2 key functions within LRIP: the Enhanced LRIP Web Application webinar and the LRIP Web Apply for a New Project webinar. These are guided presentations to assist you on the use of the application. There are also instructional videos available that can give specific instructions on using LRIP Web functions. The videos available are Introduction to LRIP Web and View My Work Queue, Request Reimbursement, Search Applications Projects, and Apply for New Biennium Project. This last one will be very useful as you begin to enter your LRIP applications into this next few weeks. The LRIP web page can be accessed at wisconsindot.gov/LRIP. It's also on the screen up at the top. I'm also available to assist you with any policy or procedural questions with LRIP and any functional questions about LRIP Web. This is a screenshot of the LRIP Web home screen. The button on the top left, Apply for Project. Currently, this button is turned off because we haven't commenced the application period. But the application period begins tomorrow on September 20th. The button will be turned on, allowing you access and giving you the ability to begin the process. A good first step is to make a quick check and look in the upper right corner where you can verify that it is you who is correctly logged into the application and see your name as a registered user of the system. If you see your name, you can begin. If the name or your representative isn't there, please contact LRIP staff for assistance. After you click Apply for a Project button, you will be taken into the application process. The first thing you will see is the alert box. The box is there to remind you that projects within LRIP must have pavement ratings of 6 or under, and the average daily traffic ADT number must be updated. This is just a reminder to the applicants that these requirements. If you don't have them resolved in the application process, it won't stop you from proceeding. but the box serves as a notice that the pavement rating and ADT are important elements of the LRIP program. To proceed, click Yes in the alert box, and you will be taken to step 1 of the application process. This is the LRIP web view of step 1 in the Apply for Project process. LRIP web allows users to move between each step in an accordion-style fashion by clicking along the banner on each step. In step 1, here you will first choose the fiscal year in which to apply for funding. This information will be presented to you at your County Improvement Committee meetings. Enter your county, your municipality, and then your program type, such as a TRI, MSILT, MSIGT, a CHI, a TRID, MISID, CHID, for examples. If you're new to LRIP, these acronyms may not make sense, but they will after you get more familiar with the program. Then, when you are finished, go ahead and click the Save and Next to move to step 2, or you can click the Save and Exit to save where the work you're at, and so you can come back later. Step 2 is the improvement. This is where you enter information on the type of improvement that is planned for your LRIP project. Your improvement type and surface type and description can be selected using drop-down boxes shown here. You are then asked 2 qualifying questions. The first question is to confirm whether your project is part of your improvement plan, and the second is whether your proposed project meets state standards that govern your project type. Trans 204 for town roads, Chapter 11-20-1 for the facilities standards for urban streets, governed city and village streets, and Trans 205 for county trunk highways. After answering those questions, it directs you to the project-related comments box. The comments box will appear in steps 2 through 6. The project-related comments box is available for notes and other items that are out of the ordinary for the LRIP project. Note the comments entered in any of these boxes will move from the box to the comments log when you save them. After this action, the log comments will only appear in the comments log. It is not necessary to re-enter the comments if you do not see them. Just verify that the comments are in the comment log. Also, on every step of the process, the upper right corner has a red delete request, which is the mechanism for deleting your application should the need arise. Deleting your application will result in your need to start over from the beginning. If you finish with this step, you can select the Save and Next or move to Save and Exit if you wish to save it and come back for a later time. Step 3 is the project location, is where you set the scope of your LRIP project. At the start, you have 3 drop-down boxes to establish your on route, at route, and towards route. The road, street, or highway that use within your municipality are loaded within the LRIP web system via Whistler, the Wisconsin Information System for Local Roads. Many of you recognize Whistler if you submit pavement ratings or average daily traffic levels to DOT. In the next row, you are able to manually insert offsets if your project does not start and end at an intersection. Once the project perimeters are selected, a map is automatically generated and will be shown in the attachments in step 5. If you make a mistake and need to start over, the red delete on route is here to allow you to clear the slate. The information on the selected roads will now be displayed in the road section box shown here. In this box, you will be able to review the section lengths, surface type, surface description, surface year, travel width, ADT, functional class, pavement ratings, and pavement rating year. If the location and map information look good, you can move down the page to the box that asks you to verify whether your Whistler ADT values and pavement ratings are correct for all your road sections. If the answer is yes, move down to the Selection Road Improvement section. If your answer is no to this question, please contact your county highway commissioner or facilitator to address those issues. Here you enter your proposed project road thickness, the travel width by lane, and your left and right shoulder widths. If the project has curb and gutter, click those corresponding boxes. One other feature to note is that the graphic on the right, which is a guide to the road design, showing the roadway width totals, the travel width for each lane, and the right and left shoulder widths. This graphic adjusts and corresponds to the information of the specifications that you entered on the left. The lower half of step 3 is shown on this slide. The next item is the base subbase details. Here you will be asked to indicate whether the existing pavement will be removed and whether the base, subbase, or substandard soils will be removed. The next set of boxes allows you to indicate what elements will be included in your project as allowed, but are considered ineligible costs. You start the process by clicking on the item to highlight it in the box on the right, and then click the blue box to move it over to the right. The comments box is here again for you and WIS.dot staff to include important notes that pertain to the project. Like the other steps, the project-related comments box is there for any needed comments. When finished with step 3, you can click the Save and Next to proceed to step 4, or Save and Exit to stop here, and you can come back to it later. Step 4 is the funding step. LRIP does not fund projects that have secured other federal or state funding for eligible costs. Here is where you answer whether or not your community has requested or been approved for other federal or state funding of the project. If you answer yes to that question, LRIP Web asks that you select from the list of other potential public funding resources. If you do have other grants involved with your LRIP application, I would ask that you contact me to discuss the situation. The next box below confirms whether or not the LRIP project will be a hot mix asphalt only or HMA only project, or a more traditional LRIP project. By choosing an HMA only project, only the direct purchase costs of the hot mix are eligible for reimbursement. Going down the page, you will see funding entry section. Here you'll enter the estimated costs for the LRIP project. If it is a traditional construction LRIP project, you will enter the estimated engineering, right-of-way acquisition costs, and construction costs into the first boxes as eligible costs. The totals, your totals, will be automatically calculated here. Then you will enter the ineligible costs for the project, such as utility costs. The box on the right is a calculator that gives you information on the overall funding levels you have with LRIP this program cycle. It is a measure for you to see what you're working with overall. In the yellow box, you'll be asked to enter the approved LRIP reimbursement amount, which would have been determined at your county's review committee meeting. The LRIP reimbursement is set at a maximum 50% for eligible costs of the project, with a $5,000 minimum award. As you work on this, the information on the right-hand side shows the budget that your LRIP project component. Also, the checkbox within the yellow box in step 4, shown here, is the official statement that the preparer of the LRIP application is authorized to work on and submit the application on behalf of the community. Click that button, and after a quick review of the financial elements of the project, click either Save and Next to move to the next step, or Save and Exit to take a break. Step 5 is where you upload the required documents for your new project application. You will see at the top the map generated when you confirmed your project location back in step 2 is already shown in the attachments box. Underneath the attachments box is the internal documents box. This is reserved for DOT internal documentation associated with the project if necessary, and is reserved for DOT only. LRIP web users should focus on this next step. The Upload Documents section of the page. Next to each required document for a new application is the symbol shown on your screen that indicates your need to upload this document. We'll take a closer look at it. So it's the triangle, a yellow triangle with an exclamation point in it. When the Apply for New Project, the document requirements are identified by this symbol. These documents are as follows. An official road street improvement plan, which is a community acknowledgement that the LRIP project you're applying for is part of the overall improvement plan. A 2-year plan is required for towns, and a 5-year plan is required for cities, villages, and counties. A signed DT 2350 form, which is a signature page on the LRIP application. And if you're applying for discretionary or supplemental, you have the discretionary project application supporting documentation, which sets your project apart. The statewide review committee reviews LRIP discretionary and supplemental projects and scores them against all other applications. The supporting documentation is a way for your community to sell your project as a critical need. Again, the discretionary supplemental supporting documentation is only needed for discretionary and supplemental and not entitlement projects. Also here in step 5, another LRIP related documents that are tied to other functions are shown. Here is a list of potential documents that are related to the reimbursement request function. This is also a grouping of documents for the optional uploads, depending on the particular LRIP project involved with the application and subsequent approved LRIP project. Again, these documents are important to other LRIP functions and not for the apply and for a new project. The process to upload your documents is done here. The green Browse button. By clicking it, you will be able to find the needed documents on your computer files and upload them. Once again, you will have the project-related comments box if needed. When you're ready, you can click and save and next to advance to the next step, or save and exit if you need to take a break and come back to it later. The final step in submitting a project is step 6, the terms and conditions page. Here is where the finishing touches are placed on your LRIP application. The upper box lists the LRIP State Municipal Agreement terms and conditions. The LRIP project recipient's name and community and county preparer of the application and their titles and the date. The SMA notes is a place where particular statements or notes are included that will appear on the SMA. So generally, this applies only to special cases in the LRIP program. And as with the other steps, the comments box is also provided in step 6 for comments relating to the application. Once you're finished and you have reviewed all the steps for accuracy, you can submit your projects prior to the deadline. The Submit to CHC button is for towns, cities, and villages, which send their applications to the County Highway Commissioner or your facilitators for review before they are sent in for the final step, which is to submit the Wisconsin DOT. For county projects, they will see the Submit to DOT button, which sends their applications directly to the department for processing. If you're finished with step 6, but aren't ready yet to submit your projects, click the Save and Next, and you can come back to it later. Besides for applying for a new project, I would also like to review the reimbursement process. The first step for a reimbursement request is to gather your required documents. You should have an affidavit of publication, board meeting minutes, or notice of award, contractor invoices and proof of payment, the engineering certification if needed, and the exceptions to standards if needed. Those documents should be scanned or in electronic format and ready to be uploaded. For examples of these documents, please refer to the 2024-25 LRIP guidelines. Please make sure to have all the necessary documents uploaded. Otherwise, it will cause your reimbursement to be delayed. Shown here is the home page, which is the same as the screen I showed you earlier when discussing applying for a new project. Here you begin by clicking on the request for reimbursement. As mentioned earlier, note the name shown in each LRIP web screen in the upper right corner. It indicates the authorized user for your community and matches the login information that is saved during registration. This is a screenshot of a typical work queue after clicking on Request Reimbursement. You see the listing of your active projects in the main box. In order to request reimbursement for a particular project, you begin by clicking on the request number to open it. Once you click on the project, the system prompts you with a pop-up box asking if the project you are seeking reimbursement for is complete and if your contractors have been paid in full. Behind that box, you will see a different box showing a log of comments for the project, but I will explain that later. If you're confident in answering yes for the question, click yes. If no, the application will not be allowed to proceed. I just want to take a moment to step back and talk about maneuvering through the process. Once you have documents ready, your project is complete, and your contractor's paid, you come to the initial reimbursement request page. Here you'll see all the steps of the reimbursement process. Let's say you're on step 5, the attachments of your reimbursement request, but want to go back to review the improvements for step 2. How would you do that? Well, all you would need to do is click on the top banner and it will take you there. All conjunctions with this webinar. Again, the Wisconsin DOT LRIP webpage has a link to the video called Introductions to Webinars and View My Work Queue. To view further instructions on how to navigate through the application process. Back to the reimbursement request. This slide provides a visual on what steps 1 through 3 look like. Step 1 shows the recipient, the city, village, town, information on the fiscal year of the project and the local officials of your community. Head of the government, mayor, village president, town chair, for the counties, county highway commissioner, municipality clerks, county clerks, and municipal or county treasurers. Step 2 is your improvement type. Here you can review what was completed on the project. Reconstruction, resurfacing, or repavement replacement. View whether the project needed a bike resolution, check the pavement type, like hot mix only asphalt, concrete, or other. and whether the project adheres to the appropriate state standards specifications. Step 3, the project location, shown here on the bottom two screens, is where you'll review the en route and the improvement dimensions of the road or street within your project. This information verifies that the construction project matches the project that your community received LRIP funding for. Just a quick note, here all the boxes that have drop-down data are color-coded. In the screenshot, you will see that items that have an incorrect entry are shown in red, while items that are shown in green tell you that the entry is necessary to proceed. Here's a closer look at step 3, the project location. On this step, you will see the project location and the proposed improvement. Like the Apply for a New Project function, Request Reimbursements has a graphic shown on the right. It shows the dimensions and location of the travel widths and shoulder widths of the project. This screen also shows a more close-up view of how the drop-down boxes are used to enter project thickness, travel widths, and shoulder widths. Located on the lower left section of each screen, again, is a comments box. This is where comments can be added. Providing additional information about the project is particularly useful in the unique circumstances. Any comments entered into this box will be automatically recorded in the comments log. The comments logs can be accessed by clicking the gray button in the upper right corner of the screen. When finished with step 3, click the Save and Next or Save and Exit. This is a screenshot of the funding page, or step 4 of the request reimbursement process. Step 4 is to record and review the project costs. Here you can view the costs of engineering, right-of-way acquisitions, and construction that were entered as part of the original LRIP web application. Down the estimated cost column, you will see the figures originally shown in the total eligible costs, ineligible costs, and what was approved as the LRIP award amount. In the request reimbursement function, under the final cost column, the final costs for your project are entered. Here you can review the costs, determine if there are any issues to be addressed, or just confirm that your project is ready for reimbursement. On the right, you will need to enter the name of the contractor or engineers that were utilized for this project. Contractors' names that are in the system will pre-fill once you begin typing their business names. In these boxes, you will also enter the dates indicating when the project was awarded, the amount of the award, the total amount paid, and the final payment date. When you have completed your review, click the green Save and Next to move forward, or again, Save and Exit if you want to stop where you are and then come back at a later time. Step 5 is the place for your project attachments. All of your required documents are stored here. In the request reimbursement function, you can review your documents and enter new documents that are required for requesting reimbursement per LRIP guidelines. The top attachment box shows you all of the documents tied to your project: maps, road improvement plan, state municipal agreement, etc. Towards the bottom of the screen, you will see an action section. This area is where required reimbursement documents are listed. The yellow icon symbols that are shown on this page indicate the required documents that the project must be uploaded before proceeding. When the required documents have been uploaded and the yellow warning icons disappear, you can click Save and Next or Save and Exit to keep your work and come back later. The final step, step 6, is the Terms and Conditions page. Before getting into specific elements included in this page, I want to bring to your attention the banners of all the previous steps are shown in green. The green indicates those steps are completed. On step 6, the yellow highlighted area of this page is a certification that the governing entity, whether county, city, village, or town, has complied with all federal, state, and local rules, laws, and standards under the conditions of your LRIP-S agreement. You need to go ahead and click that box. Below the certification, you'll check the recipients of the LRIP award is correct, as well as the head of government and the reimbursement request preparer. Then check, make sure that the correct county, title, and date are all pre-populated. Make sure that those are all correct. If everything looks to be in order and you're ready to submit your reimbursement, go ahead and click the Submit to DOT. To request your reimbursement or the other steps, just like before, click Save and Exit to retain your work and then come back to it later. As the 2024-25 LRIP program cycle is about to commence, here are a few final notes and reminders as you explore what projects you will have that could be assisted with Wisconsin DOT LRIP funding. Cities, villages, and towns, keep an eye out for information from your county highway commissioners or facilitators for your community meetings, the County Town Road Improvement Committee or the County Municipal Street Improvement Committee, which will happen between now and November. If you haven't already, get yourself registered in LRIP Web. Familiarize yourself with the application, its functions, and what you need to prepare for your project for LRIP. Visit the WIS.LRIP webpage, again, shown here on the screen. Review the past webinars and watch the instructional videos offering step-by-step instructions on the important functions like applying for a new project and requesting reimbursement. Review the 2024-25 LRIP guidelines. The manual is available on the LRIP webpage and serves as a step-by-step guide on the policies, procedures, and timelines related to LRIP. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to your county highway commissioner, facilitator, or myself. My contact information will be provided on the next slide. And now I would like to turn the presentation over to Section Chief Merrill Meckler-Hickson to share the main contact information for this section and a quick review of the ARIP program.
Great, thanks, John. I want to start just by thanking everyone who's watching for your time today. It really is the active participation from stakeholders like you that is the critical component that ensures the continued success of the LRIP program. In case anyone needs it, my contact information is on this slide, along with the contact information for John Moe, our local program supervisor, Tim Alushigan, and our LRIP contract specialist, Benjamin Radu, who I'm sure many people watching today have spoken to in the past. Once again, these slides will be made available after the conclusion of today's meeting. Next slide, please. Now, another new program that was created by the 2023-25 biennial budget, Wisconsin Act 13, which I definitely wanted to at least touch on today, is the Agricultural Road Improvement Program, or ARIP. Now, ARIP is not included as part of the LRIP program cycle. That is the focus of today's webinar, but we did definitely want to discuss it because there has been a lot of interest in this new initiative. The 23-25 biennial budget provides $150 million in funding over the biennium for the program, which is housed in LRIP Statute Chapter 8631 for projects to help improve deteriorating Class B and weight-restricted roads throughout Wisconsin that restrict the ability of farmers to move full truckloads of goods off the farm to processors and to market. The funding in ARIP is targeted to these types of roads and bridges under 20 feet, so culverts, that farmers use every day. These projects may be reimbursed at a maximum 90-10 cost share, and the legislation requires that the department prescribe a simple and clear application process through the development of an application that does not exceed 2 pages in length. We are looking at the implications and examining the legislation right now. We anticipate that ARIP application materials will be released in early calendar year 2024. The general stakeholder consensus so far has been not to rush this out and have it conflict with our regular LRIP solicitation. So the earliest we're looking at release would be early January. So again, stay tuned for additional information. We do anticipate that the materials for ARIP will be released in early 2024. Next slide. And with that, we do have a few questions. I'll start with a couple that have come in specifically on the ARIP program, since we were just talking about that. The first question I kind of addressed on the last slide: are ARIP applications due in January along with the LRIP applications? And the answer is no. The ARIP application period is anticipated to begin in January 2024, but more information with specifics on the application period will be expected to be released in the next few months. We will definitely be sharing that out through our standard email communications and press releases, many of which will be coordinated with the various state municipal organizations. The second question: will ARIP funding be available for town roads that are primarily used by logging trucks? And the answer to that is yes. As long as the road meets all the other criteria, forest products are statutorily included in the ARIP program. One more question for ARIP. What roads are eligible to include on an application for ARIP? An ARIP project is eligible for funding if it meets all of the following criteria. The road or structure must be on a county, town, city, or village highway that is functionally classified as a local road or minor collector. For structures, please note that those structures do need to be less than 20 feet, which are classified as culverts. Those are the types of projects that would be eligible for ARIP. The highway bridge culvert would need to provide access to agricultural lands or facilities that are used to produce agricultural goods, including forest products, that are used by at least one agricultural producer. And the highway would need to be designated as a Class B highway due to structural deficiencies, or be subject to a posted weight limitation at least annually. And then after the improvement, would not be designated as a Class B highway or have a posted weight limitation, other than under extraordinary or emergency circumstances. John, I guess, do you have a couple of questions that you wanted to address as well?
Thank you, Merrill. Yeah, I have a couple that came in. Do you have any examples of an improvement plans for towns? So for the improvement plan, we're not really looking for anything elaborate. What we just need is a road improvement plan that lists the projects that your municipality is going to be doing over the next 2 years. For counties, cities, villages, the plan needs to cover the next 5 years. You could talk with your neighboring communities to see if they have submitted anything in the past, or you use those as examples. You could also work with your CHC or facilitator, and they can also help you draft something up as well. Again, it doesn't need to be anything too extravagant. It just shows that you have a plan and you're thinking ahead of what streets and roads you're going to be working on moving forward. Another question. When will the presentation slides be available? The slides for this presentation should be up on our webpage, possibly later this afternoon or tomorrow. Thursday, I would think, at the latest. Again, unless something, some issue comes up. Another question. We're looking to do a reconstruction project, a double chip seal. Is that eligible? That's an interesting one. A double chip seal is only eligible for towns, but there are certain requirements that are needed that need to be met. That would be, they'd only be eligible if the county highway commissioner agrees that the work would meet the 10-year minimum life criteria. So again, it'd have to be a low volume traffic road. The county highway commissioner would also have to approve the project as well. Let's see. Another question came in. Can a municipality apply for both a discretionary and supplemental award for the same project? Well, only one application is necessary to apply for both a discretionary and supplemental. However, the project will only be eligible to receive one. You can apply for both, but you can only get one. You can't do both. That's what I have. I'll turn it back to you, Meryl, if you have any additional questions.
Yep, and I know we're at time, but we do have a couple good ones here that I'll just end with. A question came in from the town of Roosevelt. If you cannot get a Whistler map, is there another alternative for the required documentation? Now, while Whistler is a great tool, and we certainly do recommend that folks take advantage of it, really any platform that generates a map that shows the termini of the project would be acceptable for an LRIP application. Possible alternatives would include Google Maps or potentially Apple Maps or another platform of your choosing. A good question from the town of Marshall that came in. Just to clarify, the application that must be submitted to the County Highway Commissioner by 11/1 is completed on the LRIP website, and is also the same application that must be submitted by 1/15/24 to WSDOT. It's not two separate applications. That's correct. They're two different dates, same application. It's due to the County Highway Commissioner or the facilitator earlier. The deadline for them to get it into WSDOT is the 15th of January. And speaking of the facilitators, one question I definitely wanted to make sure I addressed from the town of Trade Lake, as watching the webinar steps for the LRIP application, the final step says submit to CHC. But for those in the pilot program, there's a facilitator. Do I still follow the same process in LRIP Web for the pilot program? Yes, absolutely. The facilitators will have access to the applications that are processed in LRIP Web. So go ahead and hit that button, and the submit to CHC will submit to the facilitators as well. And with that, I do want to thank everybody for their time and participation in today's webinar. And enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.